Okay, hi everyone. My name is Roger Tyra Jones, and this is my presentation for EAL 412 Reflection. Um, so it says, what are your final reflections on what you learned? So taking this course has overall taught me a lot, of course. I actually learned the importance of literacy and comprehension. I learned it can be very useful. It could be used to help EL students become more fluent in learning English and improving their academic skills. I also learned the importance of teaching them writing. Overall, I have truly enjoyed taking this course, and I actually have gained a lot of information, which I hope will be successful when teaching EAL students. I mean, we're working with EAL students. My favorite assignment to complete was actually module 3, milestone 3, which was the lesson plan. I like doing the lesson plan because I was able to be hands on with the students. I was able to be creative. Um, and I actually did a read aloud, which is something that I like to do with the students. I like reading books to them, and I like us talking about the book at the end. So I think that was pretty cool doing that. So that's why doing this assignment was pretty cool, and it allowed me to actually really focus and see how well my students was able to comprehend, what the story was about. Were they able to give me back that information? So I enjoy doing that lesson, and I also was able to introduce some new vocabulary to them, and I was able to use picture books, which is something that I like to read to expect. I mean, I like to do when working with ELL students. So what is one takeaway based on what I have learned in this course? So I learned the importance of implement multicultural, multi I learned implementing students' background into the curriculum, and I think that is very, very important because as I was going through this course, a lot of the videos and a lot of reading, I was paying attention to how the teachers was using text and things where students was able to relate to the information, which made them more engaged in reading, and it made them want to actually um, it made the learning process meaningful. So that was one thing that I learned, and I think it's important because it gives teachers the opportunity to build off their prior knowledge, and incorporates it in the lesson plan. I mean, teachers can incorporate it in various ways in their lesson plan instead of just one traditional lesson plan. You could, teach it to them in a variety, I should say. So that was one thing that I took away from this course. For my field hours, I work with preschool students. I work with students from ages 4 to 5, and it was about 20 students in the classroom. It was actually three English language learners in the classroom, but the background was mainly African American. It was one Hispanic, and it was two children. I believe their nationality was Haitian or Haiti or something like that, but they were actually cousins. So one spoke, well, all of them spoke Spanish, but the other two knew how to speak French, and they their Haitian language, I should say. Um, their English wasn't the best; it was a little broken, but um, that's basically what I work with for my field hours. So milestone two, the students that I work with, they demonstrated very good listening skills, comprehension skills. They were able to tell me the different parts of a book. They told me they were able to retell the story back, like identifying the color. Identifying the characters, telling me, answering my questions because I did ask the students questions, so I did know that they were strong in those areas. Um, they Areas that I would like for them to grow is vocabulary, and the reason why I say vocabulary because I feel like vocabulary is a part of literacy. So knowing new vocabulary and introducing them to new vocabulary is going to help their vocabulary grow so they're able to understand the things that they're reading, and just introducing them to new vocabulary. And I want them to grow in that area. So this growth can help them by, setting up a word wall. I could put it in English and Spanish, and I can use pictures to help them see those words and understand those words. Um, my favorite the lesson plan for milestone three was the lesson plan. I did an interactive read aloud. Like I said before, I like doing read alouds with my students. So I felt like this assignment was perfect for me to do an interactive read aloud because I was able to actually read a book to them and create an activity at the end. So I basically did a story about a tree named Steve, and I asked them questions at the end of the story. I also asked them questions during the story, and I also introduced them into new vocabulary. At the end, we made our own trees. We used brown and green paint to make those trees, and students were able to name their trees after them. The strategy that I use for this, I use visuals, I use new vocabulary, I ask questions, I took anecdotal notes. I took anecdotal notes because I wanted to keep track of what my students were saying, if they actually understood what was going on in the story, if they understood the lesson. So going back as I went through me asking them those questions, I was able to assess them and knew that they understand what the story was about. And I also asked them questions like as we were doing our activity, we're making our tree. They say, hey, we need brown to make the trunk. How are we gonna make the leaves and stuff like that? Um the students was able to comprehend the story because they did retell the story. I also had some students who when I asked what was their favorite part, they actually used the vocabulary, like, that the tree was sick, the tree protected the family. So they kind of used those vocabulary words, which I thought was a great idea. And taking notes was very important because it allowed me to see if my students had actually understood what was going on. So I felt like that those strategies helped me be successful in my lesson. And I did implement a chart before we started reading the story. I had did a chart. We had did a chart about what we knew about trees. So we had did that the day before to kind of get their brains wondering about what we were going to be doing throughout the week with the lesson. Um, Three strategies that I plan to incorporate in my teaching. I want to implement students' background in the curriculum. I feel like it's very, very important. Like I said, I noticed that as I was going through this course, I understood like the difference that it made, and I was actually paying attention to how the students was able to engage in learning better. I think using visual aids is very important. So that's like hanging up posters in English and another language, using word walls. I'm really big on the word wall thing. I like that from this course. So having those word walls where students can refer back to those words is very, very important. I also feel like allowing students to use their native language in the classroom, it helps them understand and make them feel comfortable and allows you to understand, I know two languages or this is a part of me. It just validates who the student is. And I know that they're still using that language at home, so I think it's important that they're still using it at school. Having peer discussions where students work together, they collaborate. I think it is very important because we might have two students that speak the same language and they might can help each other. Or just having that peer discussion, it gives students the opportunity to just work together and build off of each other and learn from each other. So, and lastly, my final comments was overall, I just really enjoyed the class. I took a lot from it that I plan to implement in my teaching. And this is the end of my project. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks.